the vocal tape and take another cassette and record the vocals, and Jay would actually play the keyboards over it, over and over again. No loops, no sequencers, no none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? And we started just making little tapes and stuff like that. You know, thought it was cool, but it wasn't until we had went to a party when I was in high school, because I remember we used to tell niggas we could rap all the time, and we was at a party. Kid Capri was DJing, and one of my homeboy, he had opened the mic, and my homeboy was like, yo, I'm gonna get on the mic, and I was like, nah. And the first dude that got up there and started rapping, and I was like, this nigga's trash.
Right.
So I just looked at my partner and was like, hey man, I said, man, pass me the mic. And the dude looked and was like, nah, if you gonna rap, you gotta get up on stage. And I was like, well shit, fuck it then, let me go. Because I was telling, you know, my girl at the time, I was like, yo, I could rap, so this was my chance to kind of show out.
Right.
And I remember rapping, and when I was done, I just dropped the mic. Because I was on some cocky shit, like, you know what I'm saying, dropped the mic, and the crowd was just like, oh shit. And I remember Kid Capri was like, man, you pretty nice. And that was it. I was just trying to impress the chick.
Right.
But then after that, I just kept going, and didn't think nothing of it until I went to school. When I finally went to school and went to CU, and I took this music class, and there was all these white boys in class, and we had a songwriting class. And he was like, yo, you should come to the crib, and we could record a song at the house. And I was like, I bet. And went to his crib, and he had this little equipment. He had an MPC, he had an SP1200, and this little 4-track recorder. And we recorded the song, and I was like, yo, where the fuck you get this shit from? And he was like, oh, there's this store called Pro Sound, man, you should go. I remember the next day I caught the bus up there and was looking at the stuff, and I was like,
shit.
oh, this shit's
that shit inspired the fuck out of you.
Affordable.
Yeah.
So I remember, man, I told my brother, I was like, dude, I'm taking all my bread and I'm gonna go buy this 4-track, a microphone, and some headphones, and the shit came to $476. I'll never forget it. I bought all that shit, and you couldn't tell. That was the first studio.
Right.
We was on, and we was just recording shit.
What year was this?
This had to be 98, like 98, because I just graduated high school, and you know, I was doing my thing, you know, as far as, you know, ways to get money and stuff like that, because, you know, I always knew how to make paper, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, you know, I did that, but like my parents kept us in the house, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, I didn't really step off the front porch, you know what I'm saying? I was in the house messing with video games and messing with this music equipment and trying to figure out how to do this type of stuff. And, you know, I was like, well, let me try to find out. And that's when I started working in the radio, because I thought going into the radio would have made me a famous rapper.
That seems to be the blueprint.
And I got into the radio.
How did that happen, though? Like, did you just apply, or were you taking classes, or
Nah,
talk about that?
How it happened was I was in school, and at the time they had this little bulletin, you know what I'm saying, where you could get like internships and shit like that. Okay. So I needed an internship, and there was this station U102, and I remember listening to them, and I was like, yeah, they kind of cool, you know what I'm saying? Like, they was playing some shit that I liked, that, you know, I thought that they could compete with KS, because I always wanted to I hated KS. I always wanted to go at their head, you know what I'm saying?
Especially when they try to pay you in concert tickets.
Right, you know what I'm saying? Or not pay you at all.
Right.
But I ended up going to the place, and I remember applying and talked to the dude, had my resume and everything, and he was like, yo, how old are you? And I was like, I'm 21. He was like, good, because I need somebody that could get into the clubs, and can't nobody else get into the clubs, so you're hired. But I wasn't making no money. I was really getting paid in fucking concert tickets, T-shirts, and fucking Del Taco swag. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
But I got to go to the clubs, and I got to have access to these DJs and shit like that. So it was like, that was the beginning. That's where Lenny Lenn kind of was born.
You know How'd you get the name?
It's really on some gangbanging shit, though.
Are you a gangbanger?
No, I'm not.
I was gonna say, I've never known you to be a gangbanger.
I'm just, I know people that were. And
you're like the rest of you're affiliated. So sometimes you get a nickname, right?
And one of my rellies was like, yo, I went to the studio where they was at, and I had on a Terrell Davis jersey, a blue one with the 30, and I walked in, and the people that was there wasn't
having it.
It wasn't about them 30s.
They wasn't about them 30s, we'll say. And
okay. So it wasn't.
So the one dude was like, "Hey, He was like, nah. And then the big rally was like, yo, he was like, hey, he was like, nah, man, he a square, man. He don't bang or nothing. He a square, he a nerd. He was like, man, what's your name? And I was like, my name's Leonard. He was like, nah, fuck that. We gonna call you Lenny Lenn from now on. And just so happened they threw a beat on and we started rapping. And I said it in a rhyme and I spelled it out, and that's where the Lenny Lenn comes from. And I said that, and them niggas was like, oh shit, man, we need to fuck with them. And that's pretty much how it got. And then even when I got into the radio, he was like, what's your name? And I was like, Leonard. He was like, nah, man, you need a name to go by.
Leonard ain't cutting it.
So I was just like, fuck it. They called me Lenny Lenn. And that's pretty much how it started. But I definitely got my name from a gangster. You know what I'm saying? He's locked up right now. You know what I'm saying? He probably ain't never going to get out. I ain't going to say his name or nothing like that. But they know what's up.
Where were you? Was it Park Hill? Was it the East Side?
Oh, no, I was in Aurora. I was in Aurora at the time. Yeah, I was living in Aurora.
So your skills were like kind of paying off, and it was starting to get you places, right? Where did it kind of get you? You got you to the radio. How was that?
Radio was like, man, it was crazy because like when I did the U102 thing, that was cool. Wasn't no money, but like the fame, like they knew who we was. Then I got laid off.
I forgot my week.
Then I got laid off. And if you work in radio, you're going to get laid off. So I thought it was over. I thought it was over. So I had to go back to a regular fucking job, which was lame. And after that, I had ended up getting a call from the radio station. And they was like, yo, we can't really pay you much, but it'll get your foot in the door. And I was like, all right, well, bet. Well, who is it? And it was Lewis and Floor Wax. And Lewis and Floor Wax is definitely not my format, but Lewis and Floor Wax, hands down, is probably the biggest morning show to ever touch Colorado. Like, you could talk about Larry Kendall and Kathy. You could talk about, like, the Jamie and, I forget the other dude's name, whatever. But you could talk about them. But Lewis and Floor Wax was, like, the shit.
Right. It's like Kim back in the day.
So I remember when I met him, I came in, I had a suit on and everything like that, and they walked in, and I remember Wax was like, what the fuck, we getting sued? What you wearing a suit for? Who is this guy?
It's like, y'all getting sued.
So, I was working with them for a while, and I remember they had asked me what I did, and I was telling them I was rapping, and they was like, well, you got some stuff out? And I was like, man, I'm trying to put some stuff out, but man, it's hard, you know what I'm saying? And they was like, well, what do you need? Because this was when I did that Commercially Underground album.
Okay.
And I was like, yo, I wanted to press up 1,000 CDs. And he was like, how much is that? And I was like, shit, probably like 1,200. And they was like, all right, bet. Commercial break. They go take a break. They come back. Each of them handed me a check for $650.
Damn.
And was like, make sure you do something with this. And I was like, fuck. Like, I ain't never had nobody do that shit. So I was like, all right, bet. So did that. I went to press up the CDs. But the very next day, they called me into the office for the radio station. And I was double dipping. So I was working, but I was doing a side gig at the radio station, getting paid by the hour.
Right.
So HR had ended up finding out that I was putting in all these extra hours and not getting paid for it. And they was like, ooh, we don't really want to get in trouble, so we're going to try to make this right. So literally they had to back pay me for a year worth of overtime.
Oh, shit.
And that check ended up being about $12,000 after taxes.
Fucking A, brother.
So
You put that in the
check.
music, right?
I took that check. I went back to Lewis and Floor Wax and I handed them their checks back. I didn't even cash them yet. I handed them the checks back and was like, I appreciate this, y'all, but I don't need the money now. I'm good. And they kind of looked at me and they respected it because they knew what time it was. So put the CD out, started getting shows and stuff like that, and ended up getting, at one time I had 6 different shows in Colorado. I had 6 different shows, and some of them was hip hop, some of them wasn't. Like, I was on KDTI, which was a rock station, but I got a chance to do a show called Sunday Night Fusion, where the program director, Willie B at the time, let me play hip hop and rock. Yeah. That was unheard of. I didn't have I never had a playlist.
That's dope, bro.
And it was like we played what we wanted, and then we did the Mega show with me and Psycho did that show on Mega. I helped start 96.1 The Beat in the Springs. Had a show called Sunderground that I did from the crib. So that was cool. And then I ended up getting laid off again. And I was out of radio for like 10 years. And opportunity came up for KS 107.5 when producer Wiggins left. So they was looking for a producer, and I always wanted to work for KS. So I was like, all right, bet, I'm gonna do this. So I applied for the job, and I knew I was like, I'm way more qualified, like y'all need me here.
Right.
And I really went in with that attitude. And I didn't realize the dynamics that was going on, because that's when they was really trying to break up the show. They was trying to split them up. They was trying to get rid of Kendall. They had this new fuckboy of a PD that didn't really know what he was doing and shit like that. And it was just a whole bunch of bullshit that was going on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And they ended up letting Kendall go. And me and Kendall was super cool. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, working with Kathy and Larry for a minute, they was cool too. No disrespect to them, but they ended up getting the bad end of the stick too. And they tried to string me along. And I thought for sure, like, yo, this is my end, you know, to go to get my own morning show and be a producer. And this is when they was, you know, they was doing some weird shit, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I ain't really gonna get into it because there's still some bad feelings and stuff like that. But I ended up not getting the show or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because of some fuck shit that happened. And I was pissed.
Right. Did they like fucking like kind of some backstabbing shit?
Yeah, there was definitely some backstabbing stuff. Long story short, you know what I'm saying? Like, the program director at the time always used to preach greatness.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I was like, okay, cool. So they kept promising me that this was my shot. Like, this was their words. Like, yo, once it's, you know, you're going to be good. And I remember having a conversation with somebody that used to be on the station, that's no longer on the station. It was kind of a big deal. And I let him know exactly what was going on. And this fool looked me in my face. We actually had lunch at Buffalo Wild Wings. And he was like, yo, you gonna be good, man. You gonna be good, blah, blah, blah. So the very next day I go in, and these fools announced a new morning show. You know what I'm saying? With Chones, with Sadie's, and with Tony V. And I was just like, damn, like, okay, well, they're still gonna need a producer. I didn't want to be the talent, I just wanted to be the producer. So I remember telling the program director, well, I thought you said you wanted good or great, not good, because he said it was a pretty good morning show.
Right.
And I was like, well, I thought you was looking for great. Well, this dude ended up going back and telling Tony, Chones, and Sadie's that I badmouthed them, which wasn't the case. Like, why would I badmouth something I wanted to be a part of?
Right.
So I noticed that I started getting a cold shoulder from all three of them. And nobody ever really said anything except Sadie's. Sadie's had called me to the side and let me know what was going on, which was surprising because I was actually more cool with the other two, and they never said nothing. So, long story short, I ended up getting on Facebook, and I made a post, and I was like, man, I hope everybody from fucking KS 107.5 gets fired. And I meant every single word of that.
Right.
Well, they got mad at that.
I'm sure your DMs blew up.
Yeah, and they were mad, and I guess they had a meeting and stuff like that. But, you know, long story short, you know, hindsight 2020, what I said was true.
Right.
And I'm not saying everybody got fired, but, you know, are they even relevant anymore?
Is even radio relevant? Shit, podcasting, where's that? Shit.
Yeah.
I ain't listen to radio fucking...
I still listen to it because I think what the drop is doing is dope as fuck.
Yeah, that's
I think so.
I
And
know.
just coming from radio, I just like what they're doing.
They need to do more of it.
I don't
Like, for real. No, I'm just saying.
I
I'm
think
keeping
so.
it real. Like, they do good, and they're doing it, but they need to do more of it, bro.
I mean, but even
There's
still, like,
music that bangs that should be on the fucking radio every hour. Or at least dedicate a fucking Sunday. You know what I mean? One song an hour is cool.
I mean, everybody says what radio should do, and I get it because I was that person too, but I've also been on the other side of the game, and it's like those 10, 15 songs that, you know, you hear all the time, those are the songs that people are requesting. And I know everybody sits there and be like, oh, well, radio's different in other states. No, it's not. Commercial radio is not different. Now, they have their specialty shows, you know what I'm saying? That's different, which we really didn't have specialty shows. And sometimes, depending on what format it is, because there's urban, there's